Dulcimoon Talks.
Where music, connection, and inspiration meet.
I'm DJ Hamoris.
And I'm Erin May Lewis.
Together, we're your hosts for these beautiful conversations that celebrate the vibrant women of the dulcimer community.
Since June of 2022, Dulcimoon Talks have brought you into the lives and stories of extraordinary women, leaders, teachers, producers, and artists who are shaping and sharing the art of the dulcimer in unique ways.
Our guests come from all walks of life. Many balance their passion for dulcimers with careers far outside the music world, yet they all share one thing: a deep love for the dulcimer and the joy it brings to teaching, practicing, performing, and creating.
Each episode is an intimate journey exploring personal musical paths, sources of inspiration, and the beautiful ways dulcimers weave into our lives. Think of it as the kind of meaningful conversation you'd have while sharing a meal at a festival. A mix of insight, laughter, and heartfelt connection.
Whether you're a long-time dulcimer enthusiast or just curious about this amazing world, Dulcimoon Talks are here to inspire, inform, and delight.
We release new talks twice monthly and are thrilled to have you on this journey with us. Make sure to subscribe and join the growing community as we honor the magic of dulcimers and the people who make them sing.
Dulcimoon Talks, sharing stories,
celebrating connections,
keeping the music alive.
Hello, Dulcimoon friends. Welcome to Dulcimoon Talk number 71 with Sally Rogers.
Yay,
Hi,
we're
Sally.
here finally.
Yes, this is our take 2. We had some internet tech problems last week, so we're trying again. We're doing what musicians do. We're being resilient, and we're trying again, picking up the pieces. And I'm just so delighted to get to share this conversation with you, Sally. You have been a huge inspiration to me in your children's music and music education work that you've done. And my maiden name is Rogers, so I feel a kinship. I feel a kinship even with our names.
Oh, wow. Is it with a D or without a D?
Without a D, spelled the same.
Oh, my gosh.
I know.
We're probably related.
Long lost cousins somewhere down the line if you go back far enough. So, well, Sally, so you're coming to us from Connecticut. And
just barely.
Yeah.
Well, for 2 reasons, just barely. We live right on the edge of Massachusetts and Connecticut. So in that little corner that's closest to Boston, that's where we live. But I'm also moving from Connecticut next Friday, or a week from Friday, to Providence, Rhode Island, which is about 30 miles away.
Wow. That's amazing. Thank you for taking time in the middle of your moving chaos to have this conversation with us.
Well, we're in the one non-chaotic room. You can see everything's gone. So.
Yes, it's the peace and still before the storm, right?
Right, exactly.
So I would love for you to just sort of take us back in time, Sally, to your musical origin story, wherever that path leads you to your first kind of musical interests and exposures and endeavors.
Well, I was brought up in a very musical home. My mother was a professional pianist. She was an accompanist, and she also was the organist at church. So, of course, every Sunday we would have to go, or actually Saturday, we'd go to the church and she'd have to rehearse and practice. So we'd have to hang out there. And she used to play things like Aaron Copland's Cat and the Mouse, and I would hide under the piano. It was a grand piano, and I'd hide under the piano and look through the holes in the floor to the basement and pretend I was the cat, you know. So I had a very musical upbringing, and we had a set of albums called the Columbia Record Library, and it had 2 albums of folk songs that I absolutely adored. And there were 10 albums, I think, in the whole thing, and some of it was jazz and some of it was classical, but there were 2 folk albums. And I'll be darned if last Christmas, when I was in Chicago with my sisters, we went to a secondhand store, and they had that batch of albums, and we still have an LP player, so
Yeah.
so I bought it, and it was just really fun to hear those again. And it's things like, old Dan Tucker and and
Mm-hmm.
Top of Old Smoky, and all kinds of ones like that.
My family had an album set of like Disney, but they were like kids' songs and they were the folk songs, Bicycle Built for Two.
Yeah.
And I have the same kind of nostalgia about that album set that my
Yep.
parents still have. So,
Yep. And
yeah.
then my big my way into the dulcimer was that my neighbor was my best friend Megan, and Megan's grandmother and grandfather had a summer camp up on Lake Michigan, and every summer the Boyer family from St. Louis would come up and camp there on their way to Fox Hollow, actually. So the folk festival out east was in New York State, and so anyway, they would come every summer. And so if I happened to be visiting my friend Megan at her grandma's house, I would meet them, and that's where I first saw the dulcimer, I think, played by Susan Boyer Haley, who is still out there playing music. And her father was the brother of the woman that ran the Beers family that ran the Fox
Okay.
Hollow Festival. So that's the link there. But also Megan's grandmother had a dulcimer hanging on her wall. As long, I mean, I always had seen it hanging on her wall and never knew really what it was until finally I got smart enough to ask. What when I was in high school, I guess late high school, and actually, I think I asked then and then sort of forgot about it. And then I lived in Switzerland for a year as an exchange student in Basel. And at the end of my year there, I played at a festival, the Lenzburg Festival. And there were people there playing the dulcimer, but they were playing French songs on it. And
Mhm.
basically, they were playing songs for the Épinette des Vosges, which is the French version of what we call the dulcimer,
Right.
and equally old and equally from the mountains, from the
Mm-hmm.
Vosges Mountains, which are up north. Um, and uh, and so anyway, I heard this played, and they were talking about the dulcimer. And I went, I I've seen that instrument before. So as soon as I got home in the summer, and I ran up to Megan's grandma's house, and I asked if I could borrow it, and she let me borrow it. And it turned out it was a Jethro Ambergy dulcimer. And if you look at Jean Ritchie's book, I think it's
The
called
Dulcimer People.
Dulcimer People, yes. Jethro Ambergris, you can see a picture of him. And the dulcimer had staple frets under one string. It was three-string
Mm-hmm.
dulcimer, staple
Mm-hmm.
frets under one string, and no frets at all under the bottom two strings, sort of the old traditional way.
Yeah.
And it had wooden pegs. So it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't that playable, but you could play tunes,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so I played that for a while, and then I went off that fall to University of Michigan, where there's a music store. I think to this day there's a music store there called Herb David's Guitar Shop, and he had two dulcimers hanging on the wall, and I bought the one that looked more handmade and more cool, and it
Nice.
had a fiddle head on it, and it was made out of maple, curly
Mm.
maple, and a pine top. And it was made by a man named uh, Thomas Deason, and he was from Corden, Indiana, which was inside the dulcimer. So on one of my very first tours, I ended up in southern Indiana and in Kentucky. It's right, Corden, Indiana is right over the border from
Okay.
Louisville, I
Okay.
think. And so anyway, I think it was Louisville. Anyway, doesn't matter. You can go look it up on the map. Anyway, he was there, and I got to visit him, and he told me about it. He said he made it out of a fence post.
Wow.
He had a fence post, and the fence post was this curly maple. I mean, it was the most beautiful wood.
Oh my
Um,
goodness.
and so he had made it out of a fence post, and it was a three-string dulcimer. And I did add the 6.5 fret to it, but aside from that, I haven't changed it, and I haven't parted with it either. I really love that instrument. I
Uh-huh.
hardly ever play it, but I'll tell you what, I rediscovered it in this move. So
Yeah.
now I know at least sort of where it is. And
Uh-huh. It kind of comes back to the top and you go, "Oh,
yeah,
I remember how much I love this instrument. I want to play
yeah,
that
I'll
one
have to
again."
play it
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
So that was that. And then when When I was in Ann Arbor, I was also went to the Ark Coffee House a lot, which
Oh,
is
yes.
still a very famous coffee
Very
house.
famous.
And
Yeah.
and one time Jean Ritchie was the guest there, and I got to meet her, and I was so excited and talked to her. Actually, you know what? I think I had already left Ann Arbor. That's true. I had left Ann Arbor and I'd moved to East Lansing to Michigan State University,
Mhm.
and I came down to hear Jean.
Wow.
And
Uh-huh.
and when I met her, we had already started a coffee house in East Lansing called the 10 Pound Fiddle, which is still there 50 years later. And so when I went down to hear Jean, I asked her if she would come up and do a concert for us at the 10 Pound Fiddle and a workshop as well. And we got funding from the university, and we brought her up. And so we became friends, and we're friends right all the way along.
Yeah.
So um, my my one big regret in life is that there are several people, herself included, she and Pete Seeger and a few other people that famous people who I got to know and who said, just come on over sometime, come on over, and I didn't do it. I did for Jean,
Uh-huh.
but not very often because she lived in the same town that my husband's family lived in. And so when we'd go there, we'd go see his family, and
Family,
I
of
would feel
course.
like I couldn't leave, to go see Jean. What I
Yeah.
really wanted to do was go sit with Jean, but
Oh,
anyway, but I got to see her a fair amount, and so anyway, we became friends, and
that's
she was just a wonderful
really
human
lovely.
being, very, very, very wise and fun, yeah.
Yeah.
And her husband
Yeah.
George too, he was great.
Jean was still alive when I was learning to play the dulcimer, but I was so far removed from knowing about the history of the dulcimer as a kid in Kansas who got one just because it randomly showed up in a music store
Oh, wow.
that I didn't know anything about all of the history and the legacy and who the people were, and that all came much later for me. And then I have always carried some regret that I didn't know to go look for Jean Ritchie before she passed away,
Yeah, well,
to have
she was
gotten to
a
have that
wonderful
experience.
human being. Yeah, and I mean, I think that's one thing that I have learned in my old age, looking back. If I were talking to a young person who's like in college, and
Mm-hmm.
that would be to number one, know where this music comes from, learn about it. Because
Mm-hmm.
I've met students from Berea College who you know, are steeped in this music at college, and they didn't know that Gene Ritchie wrote "Cool of the Day." It was like, come
Mm-hmm.
on, it's like if you're gonna get up
And
on
with the
stage,
internet, it's so much easier to learn this
oh my
stuff
God, it's
now.
super easy, and
Yeah.
and these days, if you're performing, if you're a performer and you get on stage and you're singing the old songs, or if you're singing any song, you always should give credit to either who wrote it or its origins. And
Mm-hmm.
and also by knowing its origins, you can set people off on a journey, that I've had. I can
Yeah. Yeah.
hopefully help them have as much fun learning that stuff as I did.
Right. That's exactly what happened for me, actually, is that grew up going to bluegrass festivals and bumped into a band I had never heard of called the Freight Hoppers, who
Oh,
are from North Carolina, and they were playing the old songs and talking about the history. And it got us curious. So my family started like first buying all the Freight Hoppers stuff and then going, "What, where did it come from?" And then going like, "Well, Uncle Dave Macon is a name on this album. So now we're getting the albums of Uncle Dave Macon." That's exactly how I started
yeah,
discovering the threads of the history of it, was because someone on stage in a context where I was
yeah,
was talking about the roots and the origins, and it led me way down into being
yeah.
incredibly interested in all of
And
that.
I
So
was super lucky because I moved to East Lansing to go into the music therapy program there, which I never completed, but I ended up with a degree in music education. But still, that's why I moved there. And
uh-huh.
the music store, Elderly Instruments, had just opened,
Oh, that's
just a couple of
right.
years before. And
Mm-hmm.
I got to know Stan and Sharon, who were running it, and we became good friends. And with us and Gary Gardner and Bob Blackman and maybe a couple other people, we started the 10 Pound Fiddle Coffee House. And people would come through to play at the fiddle, and then they go down to elderly, and so
Right.
I got to meet all these people that were, pretty cool people, and I was, for a while, I was booking the place too. But yeah, so I was really lucky being working, and I worked at elderly. I got a job at elderly. So there at the time they sold albums, excuse me,
Yeah.
they sold CDs and cassettes and
I
LPs
can
and
tell you in little rural Kansas when the elderly catalog arrived, it was like Christmas. We would flip through that looking for all
yes.
the new albums and things that, books that said Mountain Dulcimer on them, like
Yep.
all of that.
Oh,
So,
totally. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I lived in the catalog.
That's so
I mean,
amazing.
I was renting an apartment right behind Elderly Instruments, so
Wow.
I was right there, and
Oh, what
it was such a
magic.
great place, and so many people came through there from all over the world, for that matter, and
Yeah.
and the first, anytime a new album came out, there it would be, and the person in charge of albums, Chris Reitz, he would play them, and we'd get to hear them, and oh,
Wow.
it's great. It was such
Wow.
a rich time, and it feels like I lived there for a long, long time. That it's such a rich time in my life. But
Uh-huh.
I actually only lived in East Lansing from 74 to 80, really, or
Wow.
79, maybe even like 5 or 6 years, and it feels like I
Uh-huh.
lived there for
Yeah.
a long, long time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So you study music, you got a degree in music ed. Did
I
you
did.
ever go work in a school like as a classroom teacher or were you always doing kind of freelance?
Well, the way it goes is when I got my degree, I interviewed for jobs and never got
Hmm.
one. I was offered one job and it was in Costa Rica, and it was a 2-year commitment and you only came home once. And and you got paid absolute rock. I mean, I made more playing in a bar 2 nights a week than I could as a full-time music
Oh
teacher
my goodness.
at the time.
Uh-huh.
And this is, I mean, like just a bar gig. And so anyway, right at the time, I graduated in 78. I met Stan Rogers around that time. And in 79, Stan came to play at the fiddle with his brother Garnet and David Eady and, the whole band. Um, and they stayed at our house afterwards. And um, he said, "Well, are you playing out?" And I said, "Well, a little bit. I play in Kalamazoo and Grand
Hmm.
Rapids." And he said, "Well, you should be on the road." And this was in 1979, and my dad had a brain tumor that was completely debilitating, and so my brother and I traded taking care
Hmm.
of him,
Hmm.
and it was sort of my turn to take care of him, and I just didn't see how I could go on the road at all,
Yeah. Yeah.
and he said, "Well, listen, there's a uh, what do you call it, an audition at in Toronto for all of the Canadian festivals." And it was like a week or two later, maybe a month later. It was soon. And I said, "Well, I don't have a car." He said, "Well, get one." And I said, "But I don't know if I can go." He said, "Figure it out." He said, you gotta go." And
Uh-huh.
so
Uh-huh.
I figured it out. I bought a 1969 Buick Invicta, and it was a big old boat of a car. And my brother agreed to be with Dad, so I drove up to Toronto, and I I played at this audition, and it was an amazing audition. There was, I was there, Kathy Fink was there, Farron was there, Connie Caldor, Heather Bishop, just like all of the women singers that you hear
Yeah.
now, they were there
Yeah.
at that audition. And Mitch
Hmm.
Podolak, who ran the Winnipeg Festival, hired a lot of us that year. And the reason that they had that for historical uh, interest is that there were no women on their roster. And Mitch
Hmm.
finally figured it out that, oh, I haven't hired any women. And
Wow.
so
Yeah.
he had this audition to find some women.
Yeah.
And And he did.
So the
I think
audition
he was amazed.
specifically was for women folk
It was
singers.
only women. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
And
That's
so,
fantastic.
I mean, I was in the right place at the right time, I have to say. I mean, I,
But you had some nudges to get to the right place at the right
well, that's
time.
right. But I mean,
Uh-huh.
I could have been as good a singer, performer, songwriter as I am anyway,
Yeah.
and gotten none of it, and
Yeah.
gone nowhere, and
Yeah.
ended up teaching kindergarten. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's what could have happened. Well, anyway, I got at that audition, I got hired at 4 different festivals that summer, and then through the festivals, I met a gazillion other people who then asked if I would
Right.
come and play. So I ended up setting up, tours. And I thought to myself, well, in order to keep my teaching certificate, I have to teach 3 out of the next 5 years. So I'll go on the road for 3 years and then I'll go teach. But I never did. I mean, well, I never did for a long, long time. Anyway,
Yeah.
I ended up um, being an on the road traveling musician, and a lot of the reason for that had to do with Prairie Home Companion. And I got in onto the Prairie Home Companion because I wrote this song about my grandmother for her birthday, called Lovely Agnes. And I sang it again. Lisa Null, wonderful, wonderful songwriter, um, was at the 10-pound fiddle and stayed at our house afterwards. We talked. She said, "Have you written any songs?" I said, "Well, one." And she said, "Oh, let me hear it." So she got out a recorder and she, recorded it on her tape recorder, and then off she went to, I think she's going off to Minneapolis. And she met at Minneapolis, she and Claudia Schmidt and Helen Schneer and famous Scottish singer Jean Redpath and Lisa Newstadt, the 5 of them. They were doing a concert, a big old concert called the 5 Big Voices or something, and they all were on Prairie Home Companion before that. So
Wow.
on Prairie Home Companion, Lisa had taught my song to Claudia, and Claudia learned it and sang it on the Prairie Home Companion. So as a result of that, I get a note from Garrison Keeler saying, "Don't be surprised if you run into Agnes, my grandmother, in your travels. It's a wonderful song, and would you like to be on the show?" So for the next 4 or 5 years, I was pretty regular on the show. Pardon me, this is allergies.
I
And
understand.
so anyway, I I ended up on Prairie Home a bunch, and that, needless to say, it had just gone national.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
again, I was so lucky to be able to make a living doing this crazy thing.
Yeah.
So and
Yeah.
but then that went on and on and on and on and on, and I kept feeling like, I mean, I had kids in 89 and 92, and the 90s I really don't remember much.
Uh-huh.
And then at the end of the 90s, I was thinking, oh, it would be nice to not do this for a while, not be on the road,
Mm-hmm.
not. I mean, I'd finally gotten an agent, which was very helpful, because in 1985 I was ready to quit already,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and then I got an agent and Flying Fish Records, and
Yeah.
that made a big difference. That made it
Yeah.
possible for me to keep going because I was doing it all, and oh yeah, it's exhausting.
Yeah, and the amount of logistics on top of the actual doing the performance and writing new
Oh
songs
yeah,
and learning and
yeah.
yeah.
So anyway, then in 2001, well, for one thing, I'd been doing a lot of programs in schools. I mean, you know how musicians are. You got to do everything. You got wherever
Sure.
there's music to be made, you got to go do it because that's
Yep.
how you're gonna make. If you're gonna make a living, that's how you do
Whichever
it.
place has some money in the coffers today, that's where
Exactly.
you're
You say, "Oh
going.
yes, I can do
Yeah.
that." So anyway, in 2001 and 2000, that right around then, I was thinking, "Oh gosh, I got to get off the road. I got to get off the road." And then I'd think, "Oh, maybe I should teach." And I'd think, I had, for all the schools that I'd been in, I'd probably been in 2 that I thought, yeah, I could teach here.
Uh-huh.
And
Uh-huh.
anyway, in 2001, the principal of our local school right here in Pomfret called me into her office and said, "What would it take to get you to teach here?" I said, "You've got a position?" She said, "Yeah, we're dividing the music up into two parts, the higher grades and the lower grades." I said, "Well, I'd want to do the lower grades. I'd want to see them twice a week for at least a half an hour. I'd want a full set of Orff instruments. I'd want my own room and an office." And she said, "Okay." I'm just like that. She said, "Okay."
Wow.
And I mean, I just assumed, of course, she wouldn't say yes to
Yeah,
everything.
you're like, that's way too many things to ask. And
Yeah. And on
Yeah.
top of that, I had to get, in order to do that, I had to, over the next couple of years, get my master's degree, and the school paid for it, paid for
wow.
half of it, I think, half of it. So
Uh-huh.
that was a good thing too. So anyway, I ended up doing it. I had the best music teaching job ever under this principal. And she was there for 7 years. And then we got a horrible principal, and things changed. And
Yeah.
I put up with 3 years of a horrible principal. And then I thought, why am I doing this? I really am not happy.
Yeah, I don't have to do this.
I don't have to do this. And Howie was working. So, even if we'd had to just live on his income, we could have done it. So anyway, I quit. And then what happened? Oh, I quit. And then one of my friends from grad school, who was from Taiwan, she called me, and she had a job at the Pioneer Valley Chinese Immersion Charter School up in Hadley, Massachusetts. And I went to visit her, and I said, "Well, do you have a music teacher here?" And I asked the principal, and she said, "No." And I said, "Well, this looks like the kind of place I'd like to teach." And she said, "Okay, you got a job."
Wow.
So it was only 2 days a week. So,
Uh-huh.
it was an hour and a half commute. But I thought for 2 days a week, heck, I do jobs all the time. And as a result, I could have half of my health insurance paid. So that
does help.
that helped. So anyway, I worked there for 6 years. And now I don't work there anymore. And now I just am on the road again.
Yeah.
and doing residencies. I've got two sort of regular gigs in schools. One is preschool storytelling through the Connecticut Storytelling Center. And
Okay.
the other
Yeah.
is the Science of Sound program for kindergartens.
Oh.
I'm looking at the time. I just suddenly looked, and I've been blabbing. You want me to play a song?
I know. I was just thinking, like, I want to hear all of your stories, and I could talk to you endlessly. And also, I know you've got a dulcimer next to you. We would love
on my lap. Yeah.
We would love to hear you share a song,
well,
Sally.
How about I do one song, and then I'm going to have to leave, unfortunately.
I understand. Yes.
Okay. This dulcimer was made high in the Appalachian Mountains by the Blue Lion Dulcimer Company.
Yes.
And you can see wait a minute, other way. They're these
The
beautiful
inlays are so
herons.
beautiful on her instruments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay. So let's see if I can get one there. Can you hear me okay out back here?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay. And since we were talking about Jean Ritchie, this is one of the very first songs I learned from her, and I first heard it in high school by a substitute teacher came into our choir class, and he played a record of this song.
Wow.
So I knew this song before I knew Jean. All my friends fell out with me because I kept your company. Let them say whatever they will. I love my love with a free goodwill. One I love, two she loves, three he's true to me. They tell me he's poor, and they tell me he's young. I tell them all to hold their tongues. If they could One I love, two he loves, three he's true to me. It's over the mountains he must go, because his fortune is so low. With an aching heart and troubled mind, for leaving his love so far behind. One I love, two he loves, three he's true to me. It's when I'm awake I find no rest until your head lies on my breast. And when I'm asleep, I'm dreaming of my one, my dear, my absent love. One I love, two he loves, three he's true to me. It's when the fire to ice doth turn, and when the icy seas do burn, when the rocks do melt in the sun, my love for you has just begun. One I love, two he loves, three he's true to me. One I love, two he loves, three he's true to me.
Oh, Sally, that was
Oh, thank
lovely.
you.
That harmony on the dulcimer melody with the voice is such a magical thing.
Thank you. And that's something I definitely learned from Jean. She
Yeah.
often would do that, and she would do little ostinato patterns, those patterns that repeat, like the da da da
Uh,
da 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 da. Like if somebody was going someplace in a song, she'd go da 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 to make it sound like they're traveling.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's such a brilliant way of working with the simplicity of Notre Dame style, but not at all a simple way of playing the instrument and approaching it musically,
Well,
really.
I think trying to play like Jean is one of the hardest things you can try to do.
Me
I, I,
too.
I am a believer for myself. This is just me, in keeping it as simple as you can, because but I do play. I mean, I play chords on the dulcimer. Don't get
Yeah.
me wrong, but
Yeah.
but um, but I'm not a jazz dulcimer player. I'm not a rock and roll dulcimer player. I don't
Mhm.
try to put things on the dulcimer that I don't do myself. You know that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So and to me they don't fit in a way. I mean, I'm being very snooty here, but because there are people who do that who are, I mean, my jaw drops when I hear them play. I can't believe they can get those notes out of the
Uh-huh.
dulcimer, um, but um, but that's not what I do.
Yeah, I totally understand. There are definitely people that I'm like, that was amazing. I don't want to try to do that. Like there are
It's
some
almost,
things
it's,
that I want to try to emulate, and there are other things that I'm like, that's really cool, and it's not my thing for sure.
right, and to me, I fell in love with the dulcimer because of its simplicity,
Yeah.
and and I'm much more of a singer than an instrumentalist, and
Hmm.
so I like to accompany my singing. And if you're
Yeah.
accompanying your singing, you can't overpower. You don't want to overpower the song.
Hmm.
You have to let the
Hmm.
song. To me, you have to let the song
Yeah.
speak for itself.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Sally, I wish I could hear a million more of your stories, but I do want to
Oh,
honor
there's a
your
lot.
time today. Tell folks if they want to learn more about you and what you're doing, what you're up to next. Where do they find
Well,
more
please,
information?
please come to my website, which is just sallyrogers.com, spelled without a D, Sally,
Yes.
Rogers.com. And on there, there's a store where you can buy any of the music that you'd want to hear.
Hmm.
And there's also my calendar. And if you'd like to get on my email list, I only send things out about once a month, and only for things that have to do with music, you know.
Uh-huh. Hmm.
So, or quilting. I send stuff out for quilting too, I
Oh,
have to say. That's the
how
other
lovely.
that's the other half of my life. So anyway, they can go onto my website, and the first thing you see is, would you like to be on Sally Rogers' mailing list? And
And
just
you say,
sign
yes,
yourself up.
yes, I would.
So, yeah, and yeah, go right ahead and sign up. It'd be nice to get some new faces up there, and I'll be sending something out probably in about a week or two.
Okay, well, fantastic. Thank you, Sally. Good luck with your moving process.
Thank you. Oh, there's one more thing I wanted to mention.
Please.
This summer, um, I should look and see what the dates are of it. My husband, Howie Bursen, and I, and actually Claudia Schmidt too, we're all playing at the Swananoa Gathering. And I've just
Oh,
got to get the dates for you so I can mention that. Swananoa is from the 5th of July through the 12th of July. So there's still time to sign up. And
that one's on my bucket list. Someday I'm
yeah,
gonna make it out first one to know a gathering.
okay. Well, oh, and I hope to meet you there. One of the classes is about Jean Ritchie that I'm teaching. It'll be a
Oh,
whole week of Jean's songs and playing
how
playing her
lovely.
stuff. So that's that. And then the not the next week, but the week after that, we're at Northern Week at Ashokan, which is in upstate New
Oh,
York,
New
near
York.
Woodstock, New York,
Hmm.
from the 18th through the 25th. That's where it's run by Molly Mason and
Jay
Jay Unger.
Unger. Hmm.
Jay is the one that wrote Ashokan Farewell. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
so it will be there.
wonderful.
So it's not too late to sign up. And boy, they're both fabulous camps. Fabulous camps.
I really wish Kansas wasn't so far away when I hear all of these amazing camps that happen in
It's
the
not
summer
too
out
far
there.
from Swananoa. I mean, Swananoa is in the west side of the state. So
Yeah, yeah, that one I could someday. Someday I'm gonna make it there.
get in your
This y-
car and go.
I know. This year I'm gonna be out there for I'm teaching at John C. Campbell Folk School in
Oh,
June. So
I
I'm
have
gonna be out
never
there in
taught there.
June and I'm gonna be just getting home in July when you're there. But one of
Oh,
these
just get
years
in your
we'll
car
line
and
up
go
our
again.
schedules. I know.
That's what we do. I
Uh,
swear I have more hours in my car than anything else.
right.
Oh, yeah.
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 Well, have fun at Johnson Campbell. I've never been there, and I've always wanted to, but I've never gone.
Well,
So,
yeah. Hopefully you get to do that and I get to come to Swananoa and maybe one year we'll even
well,
overlap.
yeah, wouldn't that be great?
Wouldn't that be
Okay,
great? I
good.
love it. Well,
Well,
thank you,
thank you for
Sally. It
doing
was
this.
so great to meet you and to share this conversation with you. Thank
And
you for
DJ,
making time
thank you.
for it.
She's back there, and
Yeah,
thank
she's
you so much for
in the background today. Yeah,
doing this.
thank you. All right. Bye, friends. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Okay, the live stream has ended. Thank you,
Okay.
Sally.